Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do things a little ass backwards and do Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. I know Under Siege came out in 1992. This one was released in 1995. It was done on a budget of $60 million and it grossed $50 million in America and 104 worldwide, which was definitely not as profitable as the first movie. The first movie was made for $35 million, made $83 million domestic and 156 worldwide. But after the success of Under Siege, Steven Seagal wanted to direct the movie. And Warner Brothers let him direct the movie as long as he agreed to come back and do an Under Siege 2, which he did, and that's why they let him direct On Deadly Ground with Michael Caine. And so the next year we got Under Siege 2. And this movie brought back Steven Seagal, obviously, as Casey Ryback. We got our new batch of villains. We got Eric Boygnison as Travis Dane. We got Everett McGill, who we talked about in the Silver Bullet review. He's in this movie as basically a mercenary who runs his own mercenary team. Katherine Heigl, an early appearance by Katherine Heigl in this movie, is Casey Ryback's niece. Got Morris Chestnut in here as a porter on the train who ends up helping Steven Seagal's character throughout the movie. We got Dale Dye coming back as the Captain Garza from the first movie. Also, the Admiral's back from the first movie. And Nick Mancuso's character from the first movie is back as well. And this movie, the first movie was directed by Andrew Davis, who went on to direct The Fugitive after Under Siege and The Fugitive won an Oscar. This movie was directed by Jeff Murphy. Andrew Davis didn't come back. Jeff Murphy had directed some other movies and some TV shows. He's from New Zealand. And this movie starts off with Casey Ryback going to a train station in Colorado to meet his niece, they're going to take a train to California and take a vacation together to try to reconnect. Casey Ryback had been estranged from his brother for some time. He'd stopped talking to him, and his brother had passed away, and he never went to the funeral. So he's trying to make amends by going on this trip with his niece, who really is not very happy with him, rightfully so. So he meets her at the train station, and they get on the train, and she's very standoffish at first, understandably, because she doesn't understand why her uncle, who used to be around a lot, stopped coming around and didn't even make her dad's funeral. And then we cut to, we're going to cut this with the government releasing this brand new satellite tech for the military that can cause earthquakes. It shoots this beam and it makes earthquakes underneath a target. And this satellite was created by a guy named Travis Dane. But he got fired by the agency, and then he killed himself. That's what they think. And then we cut to Everett McGill's guys taking over a National Guard post in Colorado and stealing their helicopters. And that's when we start getting into the plot. They're on the train, and Casey Ryback and his niece he's trying to make amends with his niece. And these contractors show up and take over the train and start killing people. And basically, same thing as the first Under Siege, just on a train. And they take over the satellite, and they're putting out to bid. They're going to destroy Washington, D.C. and the Eastern Seaboard for $1 billion. And that's the whole, pretty much whatever plot there is, that's it. And that's our movie. Pretty much, Casey Ryback starts killing bad guys one by one. We have different action scenes. Once the action gets going, there's an action scene every 5 minutes, pretty much, if that's what it felt like. This movie's only an hour and 40 minutes long, and it's easy to get through. Now, obviously, at the end, we get our major showdown between Everett McGill's character and Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal obviously kicks his ass, because Steven Seagal has never lost in one of these movies. And then he kills Travis Dane, and the end of the movie. And all the passengers that are alive still are saved, and it's a happy ending. Now, the whole plot device around this satellite, I don't think there's any technology like this. I'm pretty sure there's not, but it's one of those things that it's made just for a plot device for an action movie. It's pretty much all it is. And even Katherine Heigl's character, she's fine in the movie. She doesn't have much to do. She's a plot device too, because they kidnap her eventually once they realize that who's on a train causing them grief and who was with him. They take her hostage as bait to try to bait him out so they can kill him or keep him under control, which doesn't work. So basically, she's just a plot device, too. She doesn't have much going on other than to give her uncle a hard time at first, soften a little bit, and then she's bait pretty much at the end. and she doesn't get a whole lot of screen time. It's, look, I like Steven Seagal. I like some of his movies. He's not the best actor. Let's get that out of the way. But I always liked him. And in the 90s, or late 80s, early 90s, he was one of the biggest action stars around. He wasn't on the level of Schwarzenegger or Stallone. But if you take out of him and Van Damme and even Chuck Norris, Steven Seagal was the bigger, I'm talking more bankable action star. His movies made more money. So, yeah, this movie's fine as a sequel. It's definitely over the top, and it's a popcorn movie. It's not meant to be taken too seriously, and some of the action's starting to get a little over the top, where Under Siege was more grounded. But I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed watching it again last night. Once it gets going, it's nonstop. Some of the stuff's stupid, and there's some plot holes. But you can pick plot holes on any of these movies, really. The acting's fine. Everett McGill's really good as this mercenary kind of dude. I mean, he's always good whenever he shows up in a movie, whether it be People Under the Stairs, Heartbreak Ridge, Silver Bullet, or this movie. He was always good. I haven't seen him in anything in a long time, so I don't know if he's even still acting. I know he's still alive. I just don't know if he's still acting. And the guy who plays Travis Dane, Eric Borgenson, he's really good as Travis Dane. So you got two villains again, like he did in First Under Siege. First Under Siege, we had Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey. So, I mean, the acting, besides Seagal, who's not very good, besides just the action stuff, is fine. It is. It's pretty good. Some of the effects, though, aren't that good. Now, in the mid-90s, CGI was still pretty new. I mean, yeah, we had T2, which was really good CGI, and Jurassic Park, which was really good, well done. But this is the first movie, really, that they tried to use CGI for, where they used to use rear projection to show a vehicle moving. This movie, the train sequences where there's action going on, or they're acting on the train inside the cars, was all done inside a warehouse. And they'd hang the blue screen outside the windows, and they put in the animation then. And in high def, I don't remember looking that bad on VHS back in the day, but watching it in high def, some of the effects look like dog shit. They don't look very good. Granted, it's 2020. Technology has come a long way, and it would not look that bad nowadays. But back then, looking at it now, looks very dated, very 90s. And some of the CGI around the satellite doesn't look very convincing either. And then in this movie, this is right around the time where Steven Seagal put some weight on. And he definitely was not as agile or fast as he used to be. And there's certain sequences in this movie, if you watch, and it's very apparent in high def. I don't remember what it looked like on VHS back in the day, but there's moments where Seagal's running or coming downstairs, and because he's unable to move as fast as he used to, they ramp up the speed on the camera, and it looks freaking awful. You could tell they're just trying to make him look faster, and he's not. And it looks like shit. It does. It was glaringly obvious last night watching this in high def. But those are nitpicks. I mean, but this was also around the time On Deadly Ground through the rest of his theatrical releases. Because after this, after the first Under Siege, he had On Deadly Ground, which lost money. It was a $50 million production, only made about 35 in the U.S. This movie wasn't as huge of a success. It made a little bit of money, but it wasn't a huge hit like the first Under Siege. And then he went on to do The Glimmer Man, which I like, but that movie didn't make any money. It lost money. It made, I think it did lose some money actually. And then he did Fire Down Below, which lost money. And then he went on to do, I know around this time he also did Executive Decision, but he wasn't the star of the movie. It was Kurt Russell was more the star of the movie. And that's a really good movie, actually. That's actually probably Seagal's best film, but he's not the star. So if you just take starring roles, I think Under Siege is Seagal's best movie. Under Siege and Marked for Death and Out for Justice are probably my favorite three. But after that, after Fire Down Below, his last major theatrical release was Exit Wounds, which is an okay movie. It's not a very good one. It's not his best one. It's okay. And that movie made a little bit of money, but after that, he went to direct-to-video. I've only ever seen a couple of his direct-to-video movies. I never need to see any more because the ones that I did see were total dog shit. So his career definitely went in the shitter. After that, I'm sure they pay him money, but those movies are god-awful. But yeah, Under Siege 2, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's a breeze to get through. It's an hour and 40 minutes, and once the action starts, it doesn't really let up. It seems like there's an action sequence every 5 minutes. Yes, there's things that don't make sense. There's plot holes out as the size of the moon. But at the end of the day, I had fun rewatching it again. And if you've seen it, let me know down below what you think. Let me know what your favorite Steven Seagal movie is. I just told you Under Siege is my favorite one if I had to pick one. And that's it for me for Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. You all have a great day, and I'll be back soon. Thanks. Bye.